The 1860 election of first Republican President Abraham Lincoln wrote the book on bitter political outcomes. The four-way contest featured Lincoln, sitting VP John Breckinridge, Democrat Senator Stephen Douglas, and Senator John Bell of the new Constitutional Union Party. Lincoln ultimately captured 40% of the popular vote, winning the Electoral College 180 to 123. Lincoln's victory was seen as a direct attack on what pro-slavery forces saw as their right to continue to practice slavery. Though Douglas conceded, Breckinridge and others did not, and effectively delegitimized Lincoln's victory for parts of the country. Weeks later, South Carolina became the first of many states to secede from the Union, sparking the Civil War. Fast forward to the election of 1876, between Republican Rutherford B. Hayes and Democrat Samuel J. Tilden. The ugly campaign was full of insults, accusations of voter fraud, and suppression of black voters in the South. Hayes, who trailed Tilden by 20 Electoral College votes, was certain his opponent, who was just one electoral vote away from victory, had won. Electoral math proved a bit trickier, as Louisiana, South Carolina, and Florida were deemed too close to call. The resulting months-long confusion and turmoil culminated in the Compromise of 1877. The backdoor deal gave Hayes the presidency in exchange for the withdrawal of federal troops from the South, avoiding another civil war while effectively ending Reconstruction. 1948 was a bit lower stakes in comparison. There wasn't a lot of confidence that President Harry S. Truman could stave off Republican challenger Thomas E. Dewey. It wasn't just Dewey, who had narrowly lost to Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1944, that Truman was facing. He had to deal with opposition from newly formed segregationist Dixiecrats, Southern Democrats who opposed Truman's orders to integrate the military, and his public support for other African-American civil rights. They backed South Carolina Governor Strom Thurmond for president. Despite a bleak outlook, Truman doggedly campaigned throughout the fall, eventually pulling off one of the most famous comebacks in political history. At the outset, the 2000 election didn't seem like it was headed towards controversy.
Good grief. Look at that.
11. That means automatic recount.
Yet the race between Republican Governor of Texas George W. Bush and Democratic Vice President Al Gore stretched on for weeks past Election Day, with a laser focus on a recount in Florida, where a few hundred votes separated the candidates. Despite lawsuits, recounts, and debates over ballots, the Supreme Court ultimately ruled 5-4 to effectively end the recount, with Bush winning the state by a margin of 537 votes.
Almost a century and a half ago, Senator Stephen Douglas told Abraham Lincoln, who had just defeated him for the presidency, "Partisan feeling must yield to patriotism. I'm with you, Mr. President, and God bless you." Well, in that same spirit, I say to President-elect Bush that what remains of partisan rancor must now be put aside, and may God bless his stewardship of this country.